I barely slept that night. Not because I was excited, because I kept wondering, what if Grandma was wrong? What if the lawyer had misunderstood? What if there really had been some mistake? By sunrise, I'd convinced myself not to expect anything. That way, whatever happened, it couldn't hurt as much. At 10 o'clock sharp, our entire family gathered at the attorney's office. Mom wore black. Dad carried himself like he already knew how the meeting would end. Daniel looked bored. My aunt whispered, "This shouldn't take long." Everyone believed the estate had already been decided. Everyone, except me. Mr. Howard welcomed us inside. He greeted each person politely, then looked at me for just a second. A tiny nod. Nothing more. The meeting started exactly as Dad expected. Mr. Howard opened a brown folder. "I've been informed that the family has a copy of Mrs. Eleanor Carter's will." Dad immediately stood. "Yes. We brought it." He proudly placed a document on the table. Mom smiled. Daniel relaxed. Dad looked around the room. "This is what Mother wanted." Mr. Howard didn't touch it. Instead, he quietly asked, "When did you receive this copy?" Dad answered immediately. "About 2 years ago." Mr. Howard nodded. "I thought so." Then, he reached into his briefcase and placed a blue folder on top of the table. The same one Grandma had left for me. The room became silent. "I also possess Mrs. Carter's final will." Dad's smile disappeared. "What? The document you're holding is not her final instructions." Dad frowned. "That's impossible."
No.
"It isn't. It was replaced 6 months before her passing." Mom suddenly leaned forward. "She never told us." Mr. Howard answered calmly. "She asked me not to." I watched Dad's face lose its color. Daniel looked confused. My aunt whispered, "What is happening?" Mr. Howard opened the blue folder, then looked around the room. Eleanor anticipated there might be questions. "So, she left something else." He pressed a small button on an old digital recorder. Grandma's voice filled the room.
Weak.
Gentle, but unmistakably hers. "If you're hearing this, it means I'm no longer here." Mom immediately covered her mouth. Dad stopped breathing. Nobody moved. I love every member of this family, but love doesn't mean pretending I didn't see what was happening. For years, one grandchild carried burdens, while another received applause. I felt tears forming. Grandma continued. "Emma never asked for recognition. She never complained. She simply helped. Again, and again, and again." Dad slowly lowered his head. I watched people thank the wrong person. I watched Emma smile, so nobody else would feel uncomfortable. I also watched certain people become comfortable, letting that continue. The room was completely silent now. Nobody even blinked. Grandma's voice trembled slightly. "That ends today." Mr. Howard stopped the recording, then quietly read the final will. Every gift, every donation, every instruction. Finally, he reached the last page. "The Carter family property, including all future development rights, is hereby left solely to my granddaughter, Emma Carter." No one spoke. Not immediately. Then, Dad stood so quickly his chair fell backward.
No.
"Mother would never do that." Mr. Howard calmly slid another document across the table. "That's her signature. And these are the signatures of 2 independent witnesses." He placed a second paper beside it. "And this is the notarized video confirmation." Dad stared at it. He knew it was real. Then, something happened I never expected. Daniel looked at Dad. Not angry, not shocked, just heartbroken. He quietly asked, "You knew, didn't you?" Dad didn't answer. "You knew she changed the will." Still nothing. "You knew. And you still told everyone. I built everything." Dad finally whispered, "I thought I could fix it later." Daniel laughed once. A broken laugh. "There wasn't anything to fix. You were lying."
To me.
To Emma. To everyone. He slowly turned toward me. I am so sorry. I honestly believed him. For the first time, I believed him too. Then Mr. Howard quietly said something that changed everything again. Eleanor also instructed me to release the financial records, only if anyone challenged her decision. Every eye turned toward Dad, because now, the truth wasn't just emotional.
It was documented.
Every transfer, every loan, every sacrifice, every single dollar was about to become
Public.
I didn't move. The envelope was still in my hands. The footsteps stopped outside the bedroom. Then, Dad's voice. Emma? I quickly slid the envelope under Grandma's old knitting basket. Yeah. You still up here? I was just packing some things. He stepped inside. His eyes didn't look at me. They scanned the room, the dresser, the nightstand, the closet, like he was searching for something. Not mourning. Searching. He smiled. You should get some rest. We've had a long day. I'll be down in a minute. He nodded. But before leaving, he glanced toward the knitting basket. Just for a second. Then he walked away. The moment his footsteps disappeared, I locked the bedroom door. My heart was pounding so hard. I could hear it. I picked up the envelope again. Grandma's handwriting looked shaky, but unmistakably hers. For Emma.
Alone.
I carefully broke the seal.
Inside.
Was only one folded letter. No money. No legal documents. Just one page. My sweet Emma, if you're reading this. Then they either ignored my instructions, or they're trying to change something after I'm gone. My entire body went cold. I kept reading. I've lived long enough to know the difference between grief and greed. Please don't argue with anyone. Don't accuse anyone. Just call Mr. Howard before you do anything else. At the bottom, Grandma had written a phone number and one final sentence. He has the real documents. I read that sentence 3 times. The real documents? What documents? The will? The next morning, before anyone woke up, I called the number. An older man answered. Howard speaking. My name is Emma Carter. There was a long silence. Then, he quietly asked, Eleanor passed away yesterday.
Didn't she?
Yes. I've been expecting your call. Those words sent chills through me. I don't understand. I know, but your grandmother did. He asked me to meet him at his office. That afternoon. Alone. I didn't tell anyone. At breakfast, Dad announced, we'll all meet the attorney tomorrow. Grandma's estate should be straightforward. Straightforward. Something about that word didn't sound honest anymore. Mom smiled. There probably won't be any surprises. Daniel laughed. Grandma wasn't exactly rich. I forced a smile. Probably not.
Inside.
I already knew. Someone was lying. Mr. Howard's office sat above a small bookstore downtown. Nothing fancy. Just old wooden shelves, family photographs, and stacks of neatly organized files. He stood when I walked in. He looked almost 80. Kind eyes. Grandpa's age. He didn't waste time. Eleanor asked me to protect something. Until you came. He unlocked a small filing cabinet, removed a thick blue folder, placed it carefully in front of me. My hands froze. Across the front was Grandma's signature, and beneath it, the words, Final Estate Instructions. Mr. Howard folded his hands. I drafted 3 versions of your grandmother's will over the last 5 years. The last one was signed 6 months ago. I frowned. My parents said they already had her final copy. His expression changed.
No.
They have. An older version. My heart skipped.
Why?
He slowly slid another document toward me. Because Eleanor changed everything. I opened the first page. Then the second. Then the third. Halfway through, I stopped breathing. Grandma hadn't divided everything equally. She'd left the family house.
To my parents.
She'd left savings. To charity. She'd left jewelry. To my cousins. But the one thing everyone assumed Daniel would inherit, the Carter family land, the property where developers had already offered millions, had been left.
To me.
Not half. Not shared. Everything. I looked up. There has to be a mistake. There isn't. She was very clear. But my parents don't know. Mr. Howard nodded slowly. That's exactly why she left you the letter. I stared at the folder, then whispered, "What happens tomorrow?" He looked directly into my eyes. "If they present the old will, I'll present the new one." I swallowed hard. They're going to hate me.
No.
He gently shook his head. They're going to hate. That Eleanor knew exactly who they were becoming. When I arrived home that evening, Dad was sitting in Grandma's favorite chair, waiting. He looked at me for a long moment, then quietly asked, "Where were you today?" I smiled politely. "Just running errands." His eyes narrowed. "Really?" I nodded. "Really?" For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he asked the question that told me everything. "Emma, did you find anything in Grandma's room?" I looked him straight in the eyes, and for the first time in my life, I lied to my father.
No.
I didn't find anything, but inside my bag, the blue folder rested quietly, waiting for tomorrow.